Story 1. Mandatory office days ruined my company. Just like most companies, my company was forced to go completely remote as the byproduct of the pandemic. It was an easy transition as we already worked predominantly online anyways, just in an office setting. We run meetings and collaborate with stakeholders countrywide. Needless to say, we thrived during the past 3 years, with productivity at an all-time high and turnover rate at an all-time low. Colleagues were encouraged to take frequent breaks and not to worry about school runs or medical appointments as long as it doesn't block work or results in projects not being finished. We started to win industry awards for this, and everyone was extremely satisfied. You were asked to go to the office for collaboration purposes if it was needed, but they pretty much left it to you to decide. This was until our smallish tech firm hired a new director who decided to enforce a mandatory 3 days in the office. Now these past 3 years we closed 2 of our 4 offices in the UK, most people moved out of cities and bought houses, sent their kids to school in a new town and took on volunteering roles in their new communities. Second cars were sold and people took on more caring responsibilities as they worked from home most days anyways. As you would expect, people were extremely angry over this, voicing their concerns. I will preface this with saying that we did better WFH and they admitted it too. There was no business reason to do this. This decision resulted in competitors moving in and taking away key players. We lost our apprentices as they were located across the UK. People started to quit left and right. As things got quieter, people decided to maliciously comply. Our remaining offices got overwhelmed with traffic. People could not find a desk to work, so meetings got delayed. People refused to work over their contracted hours or take on extra responsibilities. Our productivity plummeted and we had to resort to hiring expensive consultants to help. Internal satisfaction surveys were so bad that they refused to publish the results. This happened in January. I just handed in my notice after 27 years and will be joining our competitor in 2 weeks. I thought I will retire from here. Needless to say, an emergency meeting was called between the senior leadership and they tried to fix things, but the damage is so bad that they had to hire an external company to save them from bankruptcy. Now to the comments. Sheet Meveltum. Did you inform them that after 27 years you are leaving because the new guy f***ed everything up?
Subscribe for 389 years of luck.
Story 2. AITA for not including my SIL in photos during my bachelorette party because she wore white. I'm getting married, yay, and my brother, John, asked me to include his girlfriend Sarah as a bridesmaid as a way to get her involved with our family since he wants to propose soon. I wasn't happy. She's quite snobbish, almost in a comically villainous way. She once made fun of the fact that I get most of my groceries from the local big box supercenter and not somewhere with more high-quality product. But I love John and it mattered a lot to him, so I agreed. On to the issue. On the final night of my bachelorette party, we decided to have one big meal that was really pricey and fancy that we all saved up for. Sarah said she had to take an emergency work meeting and for us to go ahead first. The restaurant was walkable from our hotel. Guys, when Sarah showed up, I was floored. She came in a white sparkly sequin number with a tulle skirt and a tiara. When we were planning the trip, my MOH made it abundantly clear that everyone was supposed to wear pink so we could get a really cute photo together at the restaurant. I'm not even kidding, her outfit was so bridal looking the waitress actually asked if we were having a joint bachelorette party. I was so upset that when it came time to take photos, I absolutely refused to have Sarah in them. She said it wasn't her fault because she didn't get the memo, but I told her it was common sense to not wear a bridal-looking dress to a bachelorette party if you're not the bride. Plus, she was in the group chat and even made comments about another girl's outfit when we were talking about what we wanted to wear, so I know she knew. All of my friends were on my side and they made sure she didn't end up in the photos. When we got home, she pitched a fit to my brother saying that we bullied her at my party and deliberately left her out. She was also pissed because a lot of family and friends noticed she wasn't in the photos and I wasn't afraid to tell them exactly why. My brother's really upset though because she's been crying and whining about it nonstop since. Apparently, they're both so mad that they're going to skip Father's Day brunch, so the whole thing is blowing up even more. I'm starting to feel bad because my mom told me that my brother and Sarah were fighting a lot now, so I'm not sure if I'm being the here. My brother called me a bridezilla, but I really feel like Sarah was trying to ruin my night. Let's read some comments. Anxious Ocelot 712. NTA. A tiara and a tulle skirt? All in white. Someone was clearly jealous of the attention you were getting. If the drama continues, I would reduce the size of the bridal party by 1. Lord knows what kind of stunt she would pull on the wedding day. WLSB. I wouldn't let her attend the wedding at all. Anxious Ocelot 712. Good point. I'm already envisioning a dramatic proposal from John to Sarah at the wedding. Likely during the wedding toasts/speeches.
Like this video, 'cause I need constant validation.
Story 3. My dad told me to just walk home, so I did. I just remembered this old story of mine earlier today and thought it would be fun to share. I'm not 100% sure that this qualifies as malicious compliance since it wasn't intended to be at the time, but I'll let you readers be the judge. A long time ago, in the faraway year of 1999, I was a young 11-year-old boy finishing my last year elementary school. Right before my birthday, which was in May, my parents called the family together for a meeting. They told us my mom had gotten a new job and we would need to move. We weren't moving too far away, only about an hour, but that still meant moving away from my friends and going to a completely different middle school than the one I thought I'd be going to. Elementary school wrapped up and we moved to our new house in early July. In August, my parents and I got to take a tour of the school and meet the principal and some of the teachers. That was when we learned that there weren't any buses that passed our new neighborhood. It was actually close to the school, so that meant I would be walking to and from there every day. My parents weren't too thrilled about this, but it was only 15 to 20-minute walk and there was a path, so they came around on the idea pretty quickly. At the time, both of my parents worked full-time and 5 days a week. My mom worked Monday through Friday and my dad worked Monday through Thursday and Saturday. Trust me, this is relevant. Since my older sister was away in college full-time and they didn't trust me and my brother alone, my parents found a babysitter to be there when my brother and I would get home and watch us until my parents got home. My brother was 2 years younger than me and in the local elementary school. The school year started and in early September, we got a massive heat wave that reached highs of like 96 degrees for a couple days. The middle school was also an old building and most of it was not air-conditioned. I only had 2 classes that had AC in the classroom throughout the day. At the end of those days, I was tired and not in any mood to walk an additional 20 minutes in the heat before getting home, so I used vending machine snack money to call the babysitter from the payphone. Cell phones were definitely not used by kids in those days. The babysitter, thinking he was just not letting me suffer in the heat, came to pick me up and I would do some homework before Batman Beyond and Pokemon came on. I did try to call home 2 more times over the next 2 weeks when it was hot. The second time I got the sitter again, the third time I called was on a Friday. My dad answered. He was not happy with me. He told me it wasn't that hot, 85 that day, that I shouldn't call the sitter away from the house and that I had to start growing up. He told me to walk home and we would talk more when I got there. So I walked home. I got a lecture and was told to not call the sitter again to be picked up. I said okay and told him I wouldn't call the sitter or him again to be picked up. 2 weeks later, at the end of September, a hurricane passed through the area. Halfway through the day at school, it really started coming down. It got so bad that they let us out of school a half hour early, like that was gonna save us. By this time though, a lot of roads were flooding and the line for payphones was long. I remembered what my dad told me a couple weeks ago, so I walked home. It took me almost 30 minutes to walk home from school that day and I was drenched by the time I got home. The rain was coming down so hard I couldn't see more than 5 feet in front of me. The roads were so flooded that the only way to drive in was with a car that had 4WD. When I got home, both my parents, Mom got out of work early due to the storm, were there panicking because they hadn't heard from either the school or me. I just walked in through our garage, soaking wet, and said, "Hi Mom, hi Dad, I'm home." after they got over the initial shock and relief of seeing me home. My parents and I had this conversation. Mom, how did you get home? Me, I walked. Mom, why? Me, Dad told me to. Mom, when? We didn't get any calls from you or the school today. Me, well, a couple weeks ago, I called the sitter a few times and asked for a ride home since it was hot. The last time I called, I got Dad. He told I had to just walk home from now on and not call for a ride again. Dad, I implied that there could be exceptions. Me, you didn't say that. My mom turned on my dad and just told me to dry myself off and put my wet clothes in the dryer. I was drying myself off and I could hear them arguing. It was louder than the rain. When I was done and put my clothes in the dryer, my parents talked to me and told me I was allowed to call home but only for emergencies. My parents talked to me and told me I was allowed to call home but only for emergencies. The next day, Saturday, my dad took me out to Blockbuster and I was told I could rent up to 5 movies for myself. He also paid for pizza that night and I got a whole pepperoni pizza for myself. That pizza lasted 2 days and no one else was allowed to touch it. My dad never lived that down. Good times.